If you want to retire early to care for your mental health or for your neurodivergent brain, this is the video for you. One of the biggest reasons why I decided to retire early is because of my mental health. In the past 2 years, I've been diagnosed with ADHD, PTSD, anxiety, and depression, all of which made it really difficult for me to function in the traditional corporate 9-to-5 work life. In this video, let's talk about how to retire early from corporate or anything else that does not work with our neurodiversity. Neurodiversity is defined by the idea that different people interact with the world differently. It is often used to describe people with ADHD, autism, dyslexia, and other neural differences. A lot of people think that neurodiversity as a form of crazy or disability. As someone who's neurodiverse, I find that super disempowering. So let's turn it around and say that neurodiversity can be a superpower if you learn how to work with your brain. And here I will give you 5 steps that I've discovered and followed in my life to work with my neurodiversity to retire early. The first step is to take out all the shoulds in your life. Most of the shoulds in our lives are designed by people with neurotypical brains. The 40-hour work week, the 9-to-5 work schedule, they're all built by neurotypical people whose brains just work differently than ours. It is unnecessary for us to morph into something that we are not, to follow a schedule that does not work with our brains. Since I was diagnosed with ADHD, etc., I try to go back to the corporate 9-to-5 life, and I've also tried to not follow the 9-to-5 work schedule after I've retired from corporate. Guess what? I noticed that I did not necessarily become less productive or make less money after I've retired from corporate. In fact, I actually worked less and made more money since I retired from corporate. And this is not to say that every neurodiverse person who retires from corporate will be able to make more money. I'm not trying to say that, but this just to show that we've been fed a lot of misinformation about how to make money and, how to remain productive. And a lot of these rules and standards, they're set by people who have neurotypical brains. And for us to completely follow something that works against us does not necessarily make us more productive or even make us more money. Following all the shoulds often just results in more frustration and resistance. And the second step is to lean in to how our brains just function differently. Since I have ADHD, I usually work in short bursts. I sprint, then I rest for a long time, and sprint again when inspiration hits me. I don't follow a traditional 9-to-5 work schedule, and honestly, I can't predict when I want to rest or when I want to sprint. I kind of just go with the flow of how my brain works. Sometimes I get excited in the middle of the night and I have a bunch of ideas, and these ideas become my content, and some people might be shocked by how productive I can get at midnight or 2 a.m., but that's just how my brain works. And a lot of times, I want to say 90% of the days, I sleep in until noon. And it doesn't make me a bad person or less productive per se, because I am just simply following what my body wants. And back then, when I used to work a 9-to-5 job, I used to be really frustrated by the fact that I can easily get distracted, or I can even blank out during work hours, so much so that I have to make up the work after traditional work hours, so after 5 p.m. That's why I often also have to do lots of overtime hours, because I just did not function as a neurotypical person. Back then, I used to be really frustrated and mad at myself, but now I realize that it is just how my brain works and it's not intrinsically bad. In one of my tweets, I wrote, having ADHD and a night owl brain means being super inspired at midnight and super zombie in the morning. This is why I'm not meant for that 9-to-5 life. I'm literally the least productive in those hours. Thank God for my passive income ecosystem so I can make money in odd hours. Lean in to how your brain works differently and make it your superpower. Create income streams that don't require your active participation if that stresses you out. And create income streams that don't require you to perform during specific hours set by others if it doesn't work for you. This is exactly what I've created for myself inside the passive income ecosystem. Income streams that don't require my active participation, and they don't require me to perform during specific hours set by others. To learn more, you can visit my free training all about my passive income ecosystem. You can find more about the training in my pinned comment or description box. Step 3 is to make it easy. What's the easiest, least resistance, and most accessible way for you to retire early? To retire from all the BS that makes you feel like crap. Some people get overwhelmed with traditional early retirement, which says you have to reach your FI number of at least $1.25 million, which means you have to invest at least $1.25 million into the stock market with little to no debt. If $1.25 million makes you feel overwhelmed, then don't do it that way. Early retirement does not necessarily mean you have to retire from everything. It also does not mean that you have to retire forever and plan to not do a thing for the rest of your life. You get to choose what type of early retirement you want and how you want to retire early. Some people choose to retire from corporate. Some people choose temporary early retirement or taking a sabbatical. Some people choose to retire early when their passive income exceeds their burn rate, which oftentimes is a lot easier than hitting your FI number of $1.25 million. The thing is, early retirement does not need to be hard. Let it be easy. Think outside of the box, which should be quite easy for us neurodivergent people. You don't have to do things their way. We can retire from all the BS rules set by others. Step 4 is to allow yourself to receive help. You don't have to do it all alone. Receiving help is not a sign of weakness, it is actually a sign of strength. During my lowest days, I received plenty of help from my therapist and my husband. It is okay to be supported both financially and emotionally. If there is no help readily available, reach out. A quick Google search can probably show you that you are not alone and there are resources to help you. If you're feeling like you're the only one experiencing certain symptoms and wondering if you're going crazy, then go to a subreddit. Oftentimes I find it incredible to see how many people are experiencing the same or similar life challenges in a subreddit. Step 5, which is the most important one, is to stop shaming yourself. It is not your fault that you have a neurodivergent brain, and it is not your fault that you find normal tasks that are easy for normal people super difficult for you. Your brain just works differently. And it is also not your job to be normal. If you find it difficult to do care tasks like chores and personal hygiene stuff, like, washing yourself or shampooing, washing your hair, and brushing your teeth, then I really recommend a book called How to Keep House While Drowning by Casey Davis. The author shares steps that she took to keep her house functional and to do care tasks as a mom with ADHD of 2 young children. Don't shame yourself for needing rest. It is draining to function in a world that is not designed for us or accessible to us. Even if we need more rest than so-called normal people, that is completely fine. Allow yourself to rest. Also, allow yourself to experience the full spectrum of emotions, even if you're negative. Growing up with undiagnosed ADHD in a very strict immigrant family, I always found it really difficult to experience or express my negative emotions because I was always told that it's not normal. So since I was a kid, I've learned to bottle up all my negative emotions and just to suppress it. And as you probably can imagine, it is really bad long term, and it really served as a time bomb and contributes greatly to my mental health crash in 2020. Through therapy, I learned that primary emotions are not necessarily good or bad, and by me suppressing my emotions and shaming myself for feeling bad, these are actually secondary emotions that are even more harmful because now I'm judging myself and suppressing my emotions even more and unable to process my own emotions. This can often lead to us shutting down or having a mental health crisis. Early retirement for the neurodivergent is not just all about money. It is also about freeing ourselves from those mental cages. If you want more concrete tips to retire early, visit my early retirement training all about my passive income ecosystem that allowed me to retire from corporate at 25 years old. I'm also going to link my next video up here, but don't click on it yet. Make sure you have subscribed to this channel for more early retirement tips, especially for the neurodivergent.